The Imperial Valley in Southern California is one of the major battlegrounds in the war over Colorado River water. Farmers there use about a quarter of that precious resource.
In his series looking into whether California is a water hog, using way more than its fair share. 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne headed south to find out. Kyle joins us here live in studio. Kyle?
Brian, we got an education down in the Imperial Valley. That area has the most senior water rights along all 1,450 miles of the Colorado River. And they're not planning on loosening the grip on those rights anytime soon.
It's the law of the river.
The law of the river. According to this farmer in the Imperial Valley, the law of the river says the farmers come first, like it or not.
It's hurtful to hear that what we're doing is a waste of water and we're the problem.
The problem is far older than this fourth-generation farmer, Andrew Limegruber.
We've had this issue for longer than I've been alive.
Who seems like part gatekeeper.
If you look at our priority system, it was based on first in line, first in use.
And part politician.
You know, you made the comment that I sound like a politician. Well, it's because I've had to. As farmers, we have to wear many hats. I have to tell my story because there's no one else to tell it.
So he tells it like it is.
I hate where the conversation is led.
He's done many interviews like this one where he's portrayed as somewhat of a bad guy. He says no one ever mentions the good stuff, like how Imperial Valley farmers have, in the last 20 years, spent some $500 million on conversion systems and saved a total of just under 1 million acre-feet of water per year.
Roughly enough water to service 2.5 million homes.
We have drip systems, sprinkler systems, tailwater recovery systems.
He says farmers there have changed the orientation of the fields to conserve water, and that they've lined dirt ditches with cement and created reservoirs to catch water that would otherwise be lost.
Could you be conserving more?
Well, yeah, that's the question of the day, is can we be conserving more?
Robert Shuttler works for the Imperial Irrigation District. One of his jobs is to write the mission statement and vision for the district.
It's important for us to protect the river.
And to defend the farmers.
You're continuing to use all the water.
And we had that right.
That right even extends to the massive, overwhelming amount of water these farmers use to produce alfalfa. That leafy crop that feeds the cows and feeds you and me. And
a lot of the areas that farm along the Colorado River feed the nation.
But at what cost? It makes them big money and uses a ton of water. In comparison, an 8-minute shower uses 20 gallons of water, while 1 bale of alfalfa drinks up 650 gallons. But the farmers say they use all this water because the public demands it.
The real question is growing the food supply for the nation a beneficial use of water?
Beneficial use, the long-standing basic principle defining California water rights, which limits water use to what's, quote, reasonably required and prohibits waste.
That there's a new definition of what constitutes a beneficial use of water.
Bill Hazenkamp manages the Colorado River resources for Southern California's Metropolitan Water District.
Unfettered growing of alfalfa in the desert might not be a beneficial use.
It's not a beneficial use for me to plant thousands of acres of quinoa if there's not a market for it.
And even in the face of the river drying up and the highest temps and worst drought in centuries, the farmers aren't budging, particularly because if they can't farm, their livelihood will go down the drain.
Why would we solve a water crisis and then create a food crisis?
Some farming areas are dealing with the crisis in a different way. They're taking the government up on its offer to let fertile fields go unplanted in exchange for what amounts to hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a big thing here in Blythe, California, about 200 miles south of Las Vegas. You can see it's dusty and dry here, and economies in some areas that take the money also take a big hit, and that has everyone caught up in this war on water saying the F word.
For us, that's the F word in the valley, fallowing.
Fallowing is when farmland is allowed to lie idle during the growing season. The land basically stays bone dry because there's no reason to water it, thus preserving some of the Colorado River supply. But the choice to fallow is just that, a choice. When it comes to Colorado River water, the farmer's cup runneth over.
Without the change in legislation and change in law, we have to work with them to incentivize them to reduce.
So for now, until California and the other 6 states that rely on Colorado River water come to an agreement, the water in the desert will flood the fields. And to the chagrin of most southern Nevada, the alfalfa will flourish. and continue to fatten up the food supply.
Nevada's been one of the most vocal places against the growing of alfalfa and farming in the desert in general. But I guarantee you, if you go to the Rio buffet right now and you look at their salad bar, that produce is growing right here. So it's a little hypocritical for them to call for the ending of farming in the desert and then to benefit off of the bounty it produces.
Southern Nevadans are hypocrites.
I must say he was a very good sport and was up for the debate, and I thought you, our viewers, would appreciate his candor. Tomorrow at 6 and 11, we dive in and look at the amount of water Southern California recycles and reuses, and how and whether they're doing all they can and should be doing.